Hello campus, welcome to the second part of this particular chapter of the CSS course. We'll be talking about the relevant properties for containers. First, we'll be starting with the width and the height. The width is the horizontal length and the height is the vertical length. You can set your width or height with absolute or relative units, same as in font size, just as I've described to you. So we can set the width to be 100% of the screen width or 90% of the screen height. Yes. Okay. So next we'll be talking about the margin property. Now, beautiful designs should have just the right amount of spaces in them. You don't want to overcrowd that beautiful product page that you built for your e-commerce company, or else the customer just won't buy the product. Imagine a recently completed 3-bedroom flat, fenced with gates. It will be bad if there are no spaces between the main house and the fences, and it will even be worse if there's no gap between the house and another house beside it, or if there's no outside space in it. So in CSS and HTML, margin stands for outside space, padding stands for inside space. Make sure to add just the correct amount of margin and padding to your containers, and 1px, just one single pixel, may be the difference between a design that says and a design that just says ew. That's really bad design. I think you get the picture. There's 4 sides to every container. If you look at a box, a rectangle, there are 4 sides to every container. You have the top side, the right side, the bottom side, and the left side. You can set margin or padding for any of these sides, such as in this CSS file. It's fine now. I set a margin to the top of 10 pixels, margin to the right of 9 pixels, and so on. And I set the same for padding to top, right, bottom, left padding. But we can use shorthand to set these things. Before I go into that, let me just give you a brief description of what these things are about. So let's create an example 3.html. Alright. So let's I didn't do that well. Let me rename it. Alright then, so let's let's paste the boilerplate. Yes. So let's create a div. Let's call the div m, the class name m, and then inside that div, let's create another div, and let's call that div g, and then let's come and create the style tag, and then for the m guy, let's give him a couple of things. For the G guy, let's give him a width of 100 pixels and a height of 100 pixels. Let's give us the background color of white. And then for the main container, first let's visualize this. Copy the part and head to our browser. Paste this here, and then we have this. For this guy, let's give it a background color of blue. And of course, I'm trying to explain the difference between margin and padding to you, right? Now, margin is the external space, padding is the internal space. So let's see this guy now, and the background color is blue and this is white. You won't be able to see it. Even if I refresh the page, oh yeah, you're able to see it. M and G. Okay, let me set the width to fit content so that it makes sense. I will explain that later. Alright then. So I'm trying to explain the difference between width and height. So the difference between margin and padding. Currently, this yellow, let me call it yellow. This yellow container is inside our blue container, but there's no space between the walls of the blue container and the yellow container. So it's just as if we put the yellow container inside the blue container, but there's no padding, there's no internal spacing on the blue container for us to be able to see the blue. So the yellow covers the blue entirely. By adding a padding to this guy, we can change that. Let's add a padding of 10 pixels. You can see that blue is actually there. The yellow is no longer covering it because we had a padding of 10 pixels to every side of it. And Yeah, you can set padding, top padding stuff, but this is a shorthand. And also there's the margin. So I can add a margin of maybe 50 pixels, just so it's more profound. You can see it sets a 50 pixel on all sides. So let me show you that shorthand stuff. The code above can be summarized using shorthand. For instance, if we wanted to make all sides 10 pixels for margin and padding, we could write it this way: margin 10 pixels, padding 10 pixels, which is what I've done there. So it will set margin top, margin right, margin bottom, margin left to 10 pixels, and padding the same thing to 10 pixels. But assuming we don't want 10 pixels for all, let's say we want to stick with this 10 pixels for top, 9 pixels for right, 10 pixels for bottom, 9 pixels for left. We could use another type of shorthand that it works with the clock. The same way the clock rotates. It starts from the 12 o'clock, which is the top, to 3 o'clock, which is right, 6 o'clock, which is bottom, and then 9 o'clock, which is left. So that's how you set it. You write your margin, you write the top margin, the left margin, the right margin, the bottom margin, and the left margin. You can practice this in your stuff. So let's go and set it here. 50. Let's change our padding, 50 pixels. Let's set this to a bigger stuff, 40 pixels. And let's set this to like maybe 30 pixels. And let's set this to like 70 pixels. You see that it's going to be a little bit different. You can see that now. Alright then. So we have another type of shorthand too. Assuming we know that there are two things we can group together. We can group the top and the bottom together. Hello? We can group the top and the bottom together, as well as we can group the right and the left together. So if we group the top and the bottom together, we can write them as a new shorthand with just two things. So because we know that the top and the bottom have the same value, we can just write it under one value. And then because we know that the right and the left have the same value, we can just write it under the same value. So we have 10 pixels and we have 9 pixels for each one of them. Alright, so the same applies for padding too. So I can go back to my code and just say, okay, if I specify two things, I can say the padding should be in the top and bottom 10 pixels, left and right should be 30 pixels. So let's run that and see how it works. Exactly. Alright, there's a relationship between margin and padding and height and width. Most developers don't realize it, but adding margin and padding to a container can influence its width and height, or its parents' width and height, if you don't anticipate it. For example, let me show you this design. Let's scroll them down. Now let me see what I wrote here. Normally, the div is supposed to be 100 pixels by 100 pixels, which is what we have set here, 100 pixels, 100 pixels. However, because of the padding of 10 pixels, there is an additional 10 pixels on all sides. There's an additional 10 pixels on all sides. Therefore, adding 20 pixels to both the width and the height. Now, just to clarify, look at how big this is. Let me go and remove the padding from it. You can see it's reduced. This is the original width and height, 100 by 100. But the moment we add the padding to it, it will change. So let's inspect this first. 100 by 100. Or refresh. 120 by 120. That's the issue with padding. Whenever you add padding, whenever you add padding to something that has a fixed width, it will adjust itself to account for that padding. I hope you understand this. So normally, yes, this is a huge design flaw if not careful. and your website width might go beyond the screen width, and that is not good. And remember those, I'm sure you have seen those websites whereby if you scroll horizontally, it will still be able to scroll horizontally as if it's not fitting the screen very well. It's because of this issue. So there are ways to solve it actually. Now let me show you something else. So instead of like the symbol will be like set 100 pixels, but our padding added like 10 in this side, 10 in this side, therefore making our width 120 pixels. We can just anticipate that additional 20 that will be added, and instead we change our width and our height to 80 pixels. That way it's going to stay at 100. So that way we have anticipated this, but you can't always anticipate this. You can't always know what it is. Like, yeah, this is great, assuming your width was not fixed. This is great, but assuming your width was not fixed, but it was something like 100%, then we need to use a special CSS property called calc. It's like a calculator. It just calculates the size as we on the go. So it calculates it for us, whatever it's going to be. So let's assume we are setting the width. I'm going to style this guy separately now. I don't want to put it that way again. Let me use targeted sign. This is the only one here. Let's set his width to 100 pixels. So this is not a CSS interface. Create first set is done. So let's set the width to like 100%. And let's set the height 100%. Good. So we can get rid of this. Probably copy these ones because we need them. Do you notice something? The stuff went 100%. There are actually three issues wrong with what just happened. First of all, I told the container to go 100% horizontally and vertically. That it should full all the screen. But it went 100% horizontally but not vertically. Why is that? It's because percent works with what? Percent works with a parent. So we are asking this div to go 100% of the parent width, and it did that. But then we're not asking to go 100% of the parent height. But the parent is body, and body's height is not the full screen. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. Let's inspect body. Put it. You can see body's height is not what we want it to be. Body is not like the full stuff that we want it to be. So to fix this, we need to go and set the body to be the full stuff. So how can we do that? We can't use percent. We need to use one thing we can always trust. That's the viewport height, the size of the screen. So we refresh and we see that it went all full screen. That's issue number one that we have solved. But then there's another issue. It is not staying full screen. It's still leaving like some spaces. Look at these spaces. I think that's probably due to padding, internal spacing of the body. So let's remove that by setting padding to 0. It's not padding. So padding wasn't the issue. Okay, if padding is not the issue, then I guess let's inspect this to even find what the issue is. Put our inspector over it. Interesting. Okay, I think HTML is the issue. HTML is having like a padding. I think. I'm not very sure. This is HTML. And this is head. And this is body. No, I think it's body. Body has like a padding. No, it doesn't have a padding. Let's go to the computed part. I want to remove this space. I don't like this space. How do I remove this space? Alright then. Okay. Alright, so it's not a padding issue, then it's probably a margin issue. Is it a margin issue? You know what, let's go to Chrome. Chrome allows us to inspect this a lot much better than Firefox. So I'll be able to see everything clearly. Okay. While that is loading up, the calc property takes the normal width and then subtract what you want to subtract it and just give your CSS code what it should use normally. So that way you avoid the whole issue of stuff. Oh yeah, I think I figured it out. I can figure it out now. I know why it's scrolling. It's probably due to the okay, let's go ahead and use Chrome. Okay, so we're still scrolling, and let's inspect in Chrome. Inspection in Chrome is more profound, it's more understandable. It's good, but I want it to be desktop. Alright then. Right, so let's inspect what this guy is. HTML. Let's see. We don't have a padding or anything. So let's inspect body then. Yes, body has a margin. Look at it here. A margin of 8. Let's get rid of that margin. So we have established the fact that padding wasn't the issue, but then margin can be the issue. Margin of 0. We've changed the margin to 0. That is nothing. Now it's full screen. But it's still moving, it's still scrolling. Now the reason why it's scrolling is that it did reset the stuff to the full screen, but we added a padding, and padding will always push it away. So we need to account for that padding. The best way to account for that padding is to use the calc function. So by telling it to calculate 100%, then take away the extra 20%, and then we do the same thing for this. I'll take away the extra 20% and the 20 pixels, sorry. And then when we refresh again, it is now full screen. No more scrolling. No more scrolling. You see how awesome that is now. Okay, I hope you have been able to understand that. The next property we'll be dealing with is background color. We have dealt with this already. I've dealt with this with your RGB and everything. So just set the background color to what you want to beautify your design. However, to beautify your design, you might want to blend two or more colors together to form wonderful gradients. Let's deal with CSS gradient. CSS gradient is set on the background image property, not background color property. So we set it on the background image property. We'll talk more on this later, but let's just go through the gradients. There are 3 types of gradients in CSS. Linear gradient, the ones that goes from one place to another. Radial gradient, they're like radiating from the center of a circle. And the conic gradient is like a cone, but from the center of the circle. Let's deal with the linear gradient. So for the sake of this, we're just going to create another bold gadget. Simplify, and then I'll bring in a boilerplate. That's it. Okay. So the linear gradient renders a smooth transition between 2 or more colors. And then, for example, let's say we have something like this. Let's define a container, shall we? This body now, I've told you, body by default doesn't have a what's it called? A big height like that. So you know what? Let's do our stuff on a div. Let's call the class of the div font. So let's come here and define that. Sorry, I wrote script. I meant to write style. Then dot count. And then we have this. Let's define a fixed width for it of say 300 pixels. Let's define a fixed height of it, say 300 pixels. And then let's give it a background. No, let's not give it a background color. Let's give it a background image so that we can set a gradient on it. Now, like I told you, gradient has like what? 3: linear, radial, conic. So let's use the first one, the linear one. So we set the linear and then you specify the 2 colors you want to transition between. If you don't set a direction, like from where to where, you will use the default one. And the default one is from top to bottom. So let's set the linear gradient. And let's say we want to transition from red to yellow. That way it's from top to bottom, red to yellow. Let's go ahead and copy the relative part, the part there. Let's close this browser. You know what? Let's stick to Chrome. So, you can see it blended red. It blended red and yellow together. It started from the top all the way to the bottom. Isn't this beautiful? So you can experiment with this, but we can change the direction from where it starts, so it doesn't start from top to bottom, maybe from bottom to top. So to change the direction, we need to use it. Let's explore our stuff. So look at this. To right, that way is from left to right. So if you say to right, you mean from left to right. There is no right to left. Just change the color if you want right to left. Inverse the color. You can simulate a right to left. So you put your direction first. So let's say to right. You can see that from right to left. And then we can also define to bottom. That would be that, like to bottom left. So it is diagonal from top left to bottom. Sorry, I wrote to bottom. Sorry, I meant to bottom right. So it's going to be from top left to bottom right. So let's come here and say to bottom right. You can see that it went this way. I think we can also set bottom left. It went this way. Okay, so I think you understand that. That's diagonal. You can also use angle. So you can just set the angle that you want it to do, that you want it to go over. Let's try 180 degrees. Instead of setting direction, you set angle. You can see that now. Use it from top to bottom. Set to 70 degrees. You can see that. Alright then. So let's move on. You can also set multiple color. So you can set a lot of colors for your gradient. So let's go and do this. So red, yellow. Let's go to magenta. Let's go to blue. Let's go to indigo. And so on and so forth. You can see that it sets multiple colors to it. And finally, if you want to repeat a gradient, you can just say repeating linear gradient instead of just linear gradient. Just replace it with put repeating behind it like this. And then an hyphen and go back. That way it's going to repeat your gradient. Oh, sorry about that. Let's assume we just set 2 colors. So it repeats our gradient. I think I'm missing something. Repeating linear gradient. Alright, there's also radial gradient. That way you enter radial gradient instead of just normal gradient. So let me show you. Yeah, let's use the same set of colors, but let's replace this with radial gradient. Yeah. Let's replace the radial gradient. You can see how radial gradient works. And then you can do all those things too for radial gradient. You can also set the shape but don't worry, but that's not really what we want. Yeah, let's move to background image. Background image works like the img tag, but it sets a picture or a gradient as the background of your component or your container. You must have seen this on some websites whereby there's a big picture. Once you get to the website, that will fill all the screen, and then there will be a text at the center, or maybe that picture will be changing as you look at it, and so on and so forth. I'm sure you have seen something like that before. So yeah, so let's set a picture as our background. If you look inside this not important folder, I have a picture BW, and we are currently in this chapter 2 folder. Let's see if we can get that picture from here. And let's set the width of our stuff to be 1000. Let's set the height to be like 700. Let's see how big that is. Right, it's big but not very, not kind of what we want. Let's set to be 700. Let's set to be 1200. Alright, and this is what we want. Okay. So let's, instead of setting this background image stuff, let's set a picture to the background image, not a gradient. To do that, we just enter the URL and we locate the picture. The picture can be a link of the picture, so it downloads it from the link, or the picture can be a file on your computer. So you locate the file that is inside your project, not just anywhere on your computer. So let's locate this particular file, this b.png. So we are all the way here. We need to navigate all the way. So let's go up. Let's go up again. And let's go to not important. Right. We need to actually put a double quote. So we're writing a string. So let's go up. Let's go up again. Let's go to not important. And let's locate this. Let's use the black one. So go back to our stuff, refresh. You can see it's kind of did this. Let me show you something. You might be thinking the picture is like this, but this is not actually what the picture looked like. Let me show you what the picture looked like in reality. This is what the picture looked like. It's just one picture. But if you look at here, the picture was repeated. I'll tell you why now. The background image property sets the picture through width and the height, starting at the top left corner, and does what? Repeats the picture until the container is filled up. Though there are ways to solve this, let me mention that you can set more than one background picture on a container. The browser will stack them on each other. This is useful when one picture is the background and another is the transparent foreground. So if you have two pictures, you can actually set them on top of one another using the background property. You can ask it to like provide multiple pictures. That way you can create some kind of an effect. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. Setting multiple. One of them will be the background and the other one will be the foreground. It kind of creates an interesting effect as you code. Alright, now to prevent pictures from being repeated, we use the no repeat property. See this background repeat property. So let's go ahead and set it. So we tell him that there is some background repeat, we don't want you to repeat. So that way it won't repeat pictures. You can see it only sets this. Let me set the background. Let me set the background color for our container so we know where it is. Let's set it to yellow. So this is our container and this picture didn't fill it. If this was an image tag, it will stretch the picture until it fills it. But this is a normal container, this is just background picture, so it only says the true width. Normally it will repeat so that it fills it, but because we told him not to repeat, it didn't repeat. In the case of the two picture, we can set. Okay. Alright. So another property I want us to talk about is the background position. As mentioned earlier, the picture starts at the top left corner of the container. To change this, To change this, we use the background position property. We can use the background position property to set where the picture starts from. It's at the top left, so let's move it to the center. So we can come here and say background position to the center. So that way when we come here, it is put at starting at the center, which is more interesting. Another thing we can set is the background size. Now this is a very important one. We might want our background picture to have a particular size. To accomplish this, we use the background size. This helps us to resize our picture. We may specify a custom size, or we can use the generic one. I prefer to use the generic one, but let me just show you what the custom size is. So let's set the background size to maybe 100 pixels by 100 pixels. You can see it resized the picture to 100 pixels by 100 pixels for us, which is kind of cool. But then we can use the generic size. Let's explore the generic sizes that we have. In the generic size, we have things like cover and we have content. Now, what's the difference between cover and content? I'll explain it to you. Now, CSS1 sets a custom size. However, I don't recommend using custom approach, as it might make your picture look bad if you don't get the correct aspect ratio. CSS2 is recommended as it zooms your picture until it fills the entire background. That's the good thing about this cover stuff. Instead of trying to resize your picture, you will keep zooming your picture until the picture fills the entire stuff. So we can see, let's assume we remove this background position that we set. We can see that before then, this is the picture. So imagine zooming on this picture. Imagine zooming on this particular picture until it fills the entire space. That's what cover does. So let's go and say that. You can see that it zoomed the picture until it filled the entire screen. However, the other guy, contain, doesn't do that. Contain resizes the picture until it is visible, irrespective of whether it fills the entire background or not. So I don't think it should have any effect when we add contain. As long as the picture is visible, contain is okay with it. Can you see? It resizes the picture until either the height fills or the width fills. So wherever fills first, you know it's okay for you. So that's the difference between contain and cover. Alright. Let me say this before we move to the next point. This is just like a basic introduction, and we can't cover CSS in this course. In fact, there's a lot to learn. So just use this as a prerequisite. Use this as an anchor. Whatever you don't understand, go and Google search it and learn it online. I recommend using W3 Schools. It provides a lot of resources for people to learn. So if you don't understand something, Google search it. Part of the search result you get is W3 School. Click on it and just check through the content. The next thing I want us to examine is the border property. Manipulating the border, that is the line surrounding your container, is important to beautify your design. The border property is shorthand written as line width, line style, color. I'll explain it to you. Let's go back to our stuff and then let's create a new file called example 6. And then let's paste this stuff. Alright, let's create a button. Let's create a container. Let's create a style tag where we're going to include our style, and then let's locate that container and let's style it. Let's give it a margin of 30 pixels. Let's give it a width of 100 pixels. Let's give it a height of 100 pixels. Let's create a background color of say let's give it blue. So I think we're dealing with example 6 now. We have this. So border, you can set border with a shorthand. The first argument is the line width, the next one is the line style, and the third one is the color. The line width is a length that specifies the thickness of your border. But line style, some of them include solid, which is the most common, then dotted, then dash. And then you include the color of the border. So let's create a border and add that border to this guy. So border, the first thing is the width. Let's make it 2 pixels. The next one is the style. Let's make it solid, and let's make it yellow. You can see it. You will not be able to see it very clearly, so let me use let me increase it for you to see it better to 10 pixels. You can see it now. It's up to 10 pixels. You can see the light. You can see the stuff on it. Alright, let's go back and let's change the line style to dotted. You can see you can see the dotted one there, and then we can use the dashed. We can use the dashed. So that's how to set a border. If you remember, the button property always seems to have an annoying border. Look at the button. It has a border, but we don't want it to have a border. So let's beautify this button. How would you beautify it? Well, first of all, let's give it a way to identify it. Let's call it a class of BTN. So let's come here and locate it. Well, the first thing I want to do is to make the button a little bit. Well, first of all, I want to get rid of the border. To get rid of border, you just set the border to none. Once you set the border to none, to remove a border, just use border none. Once you set it to none, the border is a corner. So this black border around it will be removed. Well, that's one. First of all, next let's change the width and the height. Let's give it a width of maybe 100 pixels. And let's give it a height of maybe 40 pixels. I don't know. Let's make it 35 pixels. I don't know how that will look like anyway. So let's just, that looks good. Okay. Next, let's change the border radius. Border radius. Let's make it more interesting. So let's change the border radius to something like 30 pixels. That's cool. We'll get to border radius shortly. And then let's talk about the background color too. Let's make the background color blue. Awesome. Then let's make the text different. That is the color of the text. Let's make it white. This is a more interesting button than the other one. Alright, let's move on please. Next we are dealing with this border radius. That's good. This is one of my favorites. It helps curve the edges of your border, even if the border is set to none. This is common with buttons, yes, and image containers. If you set border radius to 15, you should just go to you will start with the top left, like this. You will curve this guy 15, you will curve this guy 15, curve this guy 15, and curve this guy 15. So you can use a shorthand to do that. So border radius, start with the top and the top left, the top right, the bottom right, the bottom left. You can also use a double shorthand. This will just affect okay. I'm not supposed to put that way, but I think this will be top left and bottom right, and this will be top right and bottom left. Now, how can we create a circle? Now, if you notice something, let me show you something. Let's go back to this VC stuff. No, let's create another one. So div.mc, right? So let's go ahead and create a class .mc. Locate that mc. Alright then, let's give it a width of let's say 70 pixels. Let's give it an height of 70 pixels. Let's give it a background color. Give me something good. Let's make it brown. So let's locate it. There you are. I want it to be far away from others, so let's give him a margin. Let's give it a margin of like 30 pixels. That way it's a little bit like more unique, so to say. Now we want to make this box a circle. There are two things you need to note when you need to make a box a circle. First of all, the box must be a square, not a rectangle. That is, the height must be the same thing as the width. So we set width and height to both 70-70. Now the next thing is, making something a circle is a matter of changing the border radius. If you want to make something a circle, make the border radius at least half of the width. So when you take the width and you divide it by 3, what will you have? 35. So let's set the border radius to 35. And we have a circle. So if we put it anything less than 35, let's say 30 for example, it's not a full circle like that. But if we take it more than 35, it doesn't really matter, it will still remain a circle. Alright then, I hope you're able to get that. Let's move on. The next thing I want us to deal with is the display property. I think I'm going to, absolutely. Display is not something we can rush. So thank you very much guys. I'm going to stop here and continue in the next video. Daniel out, not fully out yet, but out for now. Thank you.